All right, so you sent me this article from Xataka Mexico. It's about YouTube and some seriously long ads. I mean, ads that make you wonder if you've accidentally tuned into like the world's longest infomercial or something. Ready to deep dive into this whole thing?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Let's dive in. Seems like we're venturing into some uncharted territory here with online advertising.
Definitely uncharted territory. Okay, so the article kicks off with this Reddit user, Lin1x. They reported seeing this unskippable ad. And get this, it was 58 minutes long. I mean, 58 minutes.
Whoa.
That's like a whole episode of some shows.
Yeah, that's wild. And it gets even weirder because officially YouTube says their unskippable in-stream ads are capped at like 15 seconds. So something's not quite adding up here.
Yeah, right. So what's the deal with these like super long ads? The article seems to be kind of hinting that this might be YouTube's way of like targeting people who use ad blockers.
That's a real possibility. A lot of ad blockers work by like identifying and filtering out specific elements on a web page that are like associated with ads. But YouTube, they're constantly updating their systems. Makes it harder for those ad blockers to work.
So it's like a cat and mouse game between the ad blockers and YouTube.
Exactly. And YouTube has a really strong reason to wanna win that game. Think about it. Ads are like the foundation of their whole business model. They're how creators get paid and how YouTube keeps the lights on.
Right, that makes sense. And the article even quotes Google, saying basically that using ad blockers is against YouTube's terms of service. They're definitely taking it seriously.
Yeah, and you can understand it from their perspective. But it gets more complex. The article also highlights another user, this Standard Slip 6572 person. They claim they got an ad that was almost 3 hours long. And get this, it played before a video that was only 49 minutes long.
Wait, 3 hours? That's insane.
Yeah.
But hold on, though. The article also mentions that some people are seeing a skip ads button, even with these crazy long ads. So could it be that like some ad blockers are glitching out and causing the ads to run longer?
That's an interesting theory. Imagine if the ad blocker is trying to block the ad but doesn't do it perfectly. That could mess with how the ad plays. Maybe make it loop or keep playing longer than it should.
So like the ad blocker's like throwing a wrench in the works, and things are getting, a little messy. But then the article mentions that some users are reporting these super long ads without even using ad blockers at all. One person even mentioned a 1 minute, 28-second unskippable ad.
Wow. Makes you wonder if there's something else going on here besides just this, battle against the ad blockers. Maybe YouTube is experimenting with new ad formats, seeing how far they can push things.
Okay, so we've got YouTube potentially cracking down on ad blockers, which could be causing some of these crazy long ads. But it sounds like there might be some other things at play here too. So where does this leave YouTube and the creators, and most importantly, the viewers?
Well, if you look at it from YouTube's side, they're in a tough spot. On the one hand, they've got to make money to keep things running and to support the creators. But on the other hand, if they hit viewers with, hours of ads, that's going to drive people away.
And the creators are stuck in the middle. They need ad revenue to keep making their stuff. But if people are skipping ads or leaving the platform altogether, that income dries up.
Exactly. It's a really complex system. Any changes that YouTube makes to how advertising works is going to have ripple effects all over the place.
So where do we go from here? The article mentions YouTube Premium, which is their paid ad-free version. But is that really a solution for everyone? I mean, even the article says that some premium users are still seeing ads.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's an easy answer. And this whole thing's still changing. One thing's for sure, though, this whole fight over online advertising isn't going away anytime soon.
Definitely not. So let's dive a little deeper into some of the possible solutions that are being talked about and explore what the future might hold for, everyone who uses the internet and deals with online advertising. Stay tuned for part 2.
Okay, so we've seen that the current state of online advertising, especially on YouTube, is kind of a mess. But let's shift gears for a minute and explore some potential solutions that people are talking about.
Yeah, one idea that's gaining some traction is this concept of micropayments. Basically, it's a way for viewers to directly support creators and platforms without having to sit through those long ads.
Okay, so instead of watching a 3-hour ad, I could just pay a few cents to skip it.
Exactly. It's kind of like voting with your wallet. You're saying, hey, I value this content enough that I'll pay a small fee to access it ad-free. That makes sense, in theory. But wouldn't that get annoying really quickly? Imagine having to pay a few cents for every article you read or every video you watch online.
I see what you mean. The way it's implemented would have to be really smooth and easy to use. Maybe it could work through a system where you have a preloaded account, and then micropayments are just automatically taken out when you choose to skip an ad or access premium content.
So like a digital wallet for content.
Exactly.
That's an interesting idea. But what about people who can't afford even those small payments? Wouldn't that create a situation where only people with money can enjoy an ad-free experience?
That's a great point, and it's something that would definitely need to be considered carefully. One solution could be like a hybrid model, where some content stays free with traditional ads, and then other more premium content is accessible through micropayments.
I see. So like a tiered system. That makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. It would give viewers more control over their experience online. They could choose to support creators directly with micropayments, or they could go with the free ad-supported model.
Okay, that makes sense. Another idea I've seen is something called attention-based advertising.
Oh yeah, that's a fascinating one. The idea there is that instead of hitting you with like tons of ads, advertisers would only pay when you actually engage with their ad.
So like an ad would only count if someone actually watched it or interacted with it somehow.
Right.
That sounds like a pretty big change from how things work now.
It would be a big shift. But think about the potential benefits. Advertisers would be encouraged to create ads that are actually interesting and less annoying. After all, if they're only paying for actual attention, they're going to want to make sure their ads are engaging.
Yeah, I could see that being a win-win for everyone. Advertisers get better results, creators get paid for real engagement, and viewers don't feel like they're constantly being bombarded with irrelevant ads.
Exactly. It's all about quality over quantity. But, of course, there are challenges. Figuring out how to accurately measure and put a value on attention, that's not easy.
Yeah, and it seems like with every potential solution, we hit a new roadblock.
That's how innovation works. Right? Finding the problems is only the first step. The real work is finding solutions that are both effective and ethical.
Speaking of ethics, it feels like that's a big part of this conversation that we can't ignore.
Absolutely. As we look at these new models for online advertising, we need to make sure we're prioritizing things like transparency and user control, especially when it comes to things like data collection and ad targeting.
Yeah, it's not just about finding the right tech solutions. It's about creating a digital world that respects people's privacy and where there's trust between platforms, creators, and viewers.
Exactly. We need to be asking ourselves tough questions, like what are the long-term effects of these different approaches, and how do we make sure people's data is being used responsibly? These aren't easy questions, but they're important ones.
This whole conversation has been a good reminder of just how complicated online advertising is. It's not just about long, annoying ads. It's about striking a balance between supporting creators, funding platforms, and respecting the experience of the people who use them.
That's right. It's a complex system, and any changes have consequences.
Okay, so as we wrap up part 2 of this deep dive, let's look ahead. What could the future of online advertising look like? Stay tuned for part 3, where we'll explore some potential scenarios and talk about what you can do to navigate this constantly changing landscape. Okay, so we're back. And for this final part of our deep dive into online advertising, we've talked about the challenges, we've looked at some possible solutions. Now it's time to look ahead to the future.
Right, let's do that. Let's imagine what online advertising might look like in a few years.
Okay, so let's go back to the idea of micropayments for a second. Do you think that could actually become like the main way we pay for content online?
You know, it's definitely possible. Think about it. You're already used to making small digital payments for things like apps, music, even like in-game purchases.
That's true. But expanding that to like the whole internet, that's huge.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. There's a ton of logistics to figure out, but the basic technology is there. Imagine a world where you have a universal digital wallet connected to your browser. You find an article you want to read or a video you want to watch. One click, and you make a tiny payment to access it without any ads.
That sounds pretty smooth.
Yeah.
But what about creators who use platforms like YouTube to share their stuff? How would they get paid in this micropayment world?
Yeah, the platforms would have to adapt too. They could be like middlemen collecting the micropayments and then giving them to creators based on how many views they get, engagement, or some other metric.
Kind of like a direct patronage system,
Oh,
where
okay.
viewers are directly supporting the creators they like.
Exactly. It could give creators more independence. They wouldn't have to rely so much on the algorithms and decisions of the big platforms.
Interesting. Okay, so that's one possible future. What about attention-based advertising? Could that actually work?
I think it could be a real game changer. Technology is getting better at understanding and measuring human attention. Imagine ads that are tailored not just to your demographics, but to how engaged you actually are.
So instead of getting bombarded with random ads while I'm scrolling, I'd only see ads that I'm actually interested in. That sounds almost enjoyable.
Right, and for advertisers, it's a much smarter way to spend their money. They're paying for real attention, not just for showing an ad to someone who might not even be looking.
Okay, I'm on board with that. But how do we make sure that this attention data isn't being misused? We've already seen how ad targeting can lead to privacy problems.
That's a really important point. Any new model for online advertising needs to put user privacy and transparency first. Maybe we'll see things like data cooperatives, where people have more control over their own data and how it's used.
So instead of our data being collected and sold without our knowledge, we'd have more control over how it's shared and used.
Exactly. It's about giving individuals more power over their online identities.
It's really interesting to think about all these possibilities. But with so much potential change, it's easy to feel kind of lost. What can our listeners do to navigate all of this?
Well, the most important thing is to stay informed. Pay attention to how your data is being used and what choices you have. Support creators and platforms that share your values. And don't be afraid to speak up and advocate for a better experience online.
Yeah, it's easy to feel like we're just along for the ride in this digital world. But we have more power than we think.
I agree. Our choices matter. Our preferences matter. Our voices matter. The future of online advertising isn't set in stone. It's being shaped right now. And we all have a part to play in making it better.
Well said. So there you have it. A deep dive into the world of online advertising, from those crazy long YouTube ads to what a more ethical and sustainable future might look like.
We hope this conversation has given you some things to think about and maybe empowered you to be more informed and more active in the digital world.
Absolutely. Until next time, happy browsing, everyone. And may your ads be short, sweet, and maybe even make you think a little.